2024 was a great year for watches. It was a great year for this channel. I got to make a lot of videos that I love making. However, my favorite video to make are affordable luxury watches. It's the way I collect. That's why I've made a number of them this year. I wanted to end the year with yet another updated list of affordable luxury watches. This is a list of 10 watches that I think are pretty amazing and sell for a very good price on the secondary market, either used or gray market. This is a new list. There's a lot of new watches on here. Some watches that maybe wouldn't have made it on this list in 2023 based on price. However, they are now showing up on this list. I'm going to start with number 1. These are in no particular order. So let's start with my first pick. So towards the end of 2023, I started mentioning that the prices on Ming have started to fall. And this year we have seen a big drop in the prices of Ming watches. These are watches that were selling for over list price. They would sell out, and then of course those watches would eventually hit the market on the secondary market, used or gray market, and they would sell for over list price, usually around double what the original list price was. A very good example was the H41, a watch that I purchased. That watch was selling for around $10,000 originally. It was around a $3,500 watch. Prices have come so down on these watches that they are now selling for under list price. You can get an H41 for around $2,500. But that's not the only Ming that has fallen in price. There are plenty of Ming. In fact, almost all Ming have fallen in price and are selling for under list price. The 1709 now sells for around $1,300. The 3705, a watch that recently came out, that's the Series 2 Moon Phase, selling for around $2,600. The 2201, that's a GMT, selling for under $2,000, usually around $1,800 to $1,900. And then, of course, that Ming 1801, under $3,000. So if you've ever wanted a Ming, you could definitely go on eBay and get a fantastic price on a Ming right now, and the prices are only falling. One of the most underrated and under the radar Tudors available on the market today, there's really two, but the one that I'm going to be talking about in this video is the Advisor. If you're not familiar with the Advisor, don't worry, not a lot of people are. It's an alarm watch that's powered by an ETA movement. It has an in-house module that actually creates the alarm sound. It's more like a cricket than an alarm, so it's very similar to like a Vulcain, if you're familiar with them. I actually own a Vulcain, so it sounds sort of like a cricket. These were pretty expensive when they came out, around $6,500. Now you can get them for well under $3,000, somewhere in that $2,500 range. These are based on a vintage Tudor alarm. These get an on-off window. There's a power reserve for the alarm. All of this is on the dial. You also get a date subdial, which is at the 6 o'clock, so you're not getting a date window. You're getting a subdial for the date. It's based on an ETA 2892, and then they have a heavily modified in-house mechanical alarm module that they put on top. These are very loud, they sound great, and they're powered by an ETA 2892, so they're easy to fix as well. These come on a bracelet or a strap. If you get it on a strap, you can get them for around $2,400. And that's a really good price for a watch that you'll never see anybody else wearing. The next watch on this list is a watch that has fallen dramatically in price over the past 2 years. It's the most expensive watch on this list. This is the Moser Pioneer Center Seconds, and one of the cheapest out of the lot is their DLC coated version with the blue dial. These get down to a price of around $7,500, depending on where you're looking. Condition, of course, if there's a couple of scratches, you can get these for a very, very good price. I mention these because these retail around $15,000. Previously, they were selling over list price. So when you were going on places like eBay, they were selling for $15,000 and up, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. People are still trying to get these prices on places like Chrono24 and eBay, but those watches aren't selling. When you look at places like Watchbox and you see that they're selling these watches for $9,000, that means you can get them for around $7,000 on places like Chrono24 and eBay, and that's actually what they're selling for there. So definitely check out those places if you are interested in getting a Moser and you don't want to spend a lot of money. One of the brands that has been hit hardest by depreciation over the years has been Bulgari. I actually bought a Bulgari earlier this year. It was an Octo. It was on a bracelet. It wasn't a Finissimo, so it wasn't the extra thin. Those are a little bit harder, so they don't soften as much on the secondary market. The Octo, the Roma, those sell for a song on the secondary market. However, that's not the watch that I want to bring up here. The watch that I want to bring up in this video is the Bulgari Diagono Scuba. If you're not familiar with these watches, they are an integrated bracelet watch. They are automatic. They get 200 meters of water resistance. They get a really cool integrated bracelet. However, they sell for next to nothing on the secondary market. These weren't extremely expensive watches to begin with, but if you want a luxury watch for a very good price, definitely check these out. They made a scuba version, which is the dive version with 200 meters of water resistance. They also made a chronograph version that also gets 200 meters of water resistance and a rotating bezel, just like that dive watch. And then they made a GMT as well that, again, gets 200 meters of water resistance and a rotating bezel. You can get them on a strap or a bracelet. If you get it on a strap and they have like an articulated rubber strap, you can get these for around $600 to $1,000. It doesn't matter which model I'm talking about. It could be any one of them. If you want one that's on a bracelet, they're a little bit more expensive. For example, on eBay right now, there's a Scuba that has a couple of scratches on it that's going for $761, somewhere in that range. It's from Japan. It looks like it has most of the links. This is a great watch, and it's automatic for that price. I highly recommend checking these out. If you're looking to get a luxury integrated bracelet watch, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, this is a fantastic option, especially when you consider that if you went out and bought a Tissot PRX, it would be the exact same price as the one that I just mentioned. And you're not getting 200 meters of water resistance or rotating bezel, so there you go. The next watch on this list I will go through a little bit quicker because this is technically not a luxury watch in my opinion. It's the Zodiac Super Seawolf or the Seawolf. These are watches that sell for around $400 to $1,000. It doesn't matter if they're new or vintage. However, they are very historic watches. They were one of the first dive watches. They came out alongside the 50 Fathoms and the Submariner in 1953. These are historic watches. They've been worn by many famous divers. Also, I believe the Zodiac Killer wore one. Don't take my word for that, but I think I saw that in a documentary recently. So these are pretty famous watches and they're pretty decently made. I would say that they have a micro brand quality to them. So these are definitely not luxury watches. They're owned by the Fossil Group. They're usually powered by an STP movement. You can get them for literally 75% of what the retail is. So if you want one, definitely do not buy these new. Go to the gray market, go to the used market, and you can get a great example for a very good price. Prices on Cartiers have been pretty steady over the past few years. A lot of their watches selling over list price. The Santos, still one of those watches that are selling at or around what they originally sold as new, which is pretty crazy. It could be kickback from Rolex customers who can't get a Rolex and buy something else. So they go to Cartier, another very recognizable name. So the prices have held steady. However, if you want a rectangular tank style watch from a brand like Cartier, a fashion brand, definitely look at Hermes. Hermes make some pretty incredible watches that are made by Parmigiani. And the watch that I want to bring up here is the H08. It's a titanium automatic square watch that sells for under $3,000 on places like eBay and Chrono24. They're powered by a Vaucher movement. So a Parmigiani movement. Vaucher is the manufacturer arm of Parmigiani. These are movements that you'll find in a Parmigiani watch, which are very, very high end. They make movements for brands like Richard Mille. So these are very high end movements. These are very high end watches that are selling for under $3,000. Lots of colorful straps. Really great watches for a very, very good price. If you want something that, again, is very high end, for a pretty good price. I wouldn't say they're cheap, but for under $3,000, you're getting a lot of watch. If you like Porsches and you like watches, Porsche Design makes some really great watches. And they've teamed up with some amazing companies over the years, like IWC and Eterna. The watch that we're talking about today was made by Eterna. It's their Flat 6. This is probably one of the cheapest Porsche design watches that you can buy that is automatic, powered by a Selena movement that is heavily modified by Porsche design. You get a pretty cool rotor on these that look like BBS wheel. These are integrated bracelet watches, and they come in at around $500. You can find them on eBay very easily. There are some fakes out there, so you do need to be a little bit careful, because for one reason or another, Porsche design is one of those watches that they've replicated a few times. So definitely make sure that you're buying an original Porsche design watch. But $500, these are pretty awesome, and they sell for that $500 on a regular basis. These are high-end watches that sell for a very good price. I've brought up Chopard in videos like this in the past, where I've talked about their affordable offerings. They sell watches that don't sell well on the secondary market. For one reason or another, they usually tank, and recently the prices have been falling dramatically on many of their watches. Look to the L.U.C line of watches. One of their older designs is the Pro 1 dive watch. If you're looking for a dive watch, this is an awesome micro-rotor powered dive watch that gets 200 meters of water resistance. It's an L.U.C. L.U.C means that this is their higher end watch. This is a watch that's meant to compete with the best of the best, the Holy Trinity. And the movement that's inside this watch, which is the 96, it was praised by Philippe Dufour as one of the best automatic movements ever made. So this is a very high-end watch that don't sell for a lot of money. These sell for between $2,000 and $5,000 depending on the condition. However, there are a slew of other watches powered by this movement that you could buy from Chopard in that price range. So if you like this movement and you want to see it, you can go for one of their dive watches, because they always have a display case back. These are great watches with great movements, and they are of the best quality. And usually, like I said, they sell for literally pennies on the dollars, usually around 75% off, sometimes 85% off of their retail price. A brand that I don't bring up here very, very often here on my channel, Tag Heuer. However, this is one of the best bargains out there. It was made under Jean-Claude Bibier when he was actually in control of the LVMH watch section. He made this watch, and you could definitely see that because it kind of looks like a Hublot, in my opinion. It's the Carrera. When they came out with the Carrera, they came out with a halo version of the Carrera, but at the same time, it was extremely affordable, and there were brands that were a little bit mad about Tag Heuer coming out with a tourbillon that cost around $20,000. And that's a little crazy, because considering today you can get a bunch of different Swiss tourbillons that are somewhat affordable in that $14,000 to $20,000 range. However, since these came out, they were never very popular because they look like a Hublot. They get an integrated bracelet case. They have a very weird strap on them. Not a lot of people like them. I didn't think they were ugly, but I do think they look somewhat like a Hublot. They originally cost around $21,000, somewhere in that range. You could get a tourbillon chronograph from Tag Heuer for $4,500 right now on places like eBay, and there are secondary sellers selling these watches in new condition and used condition for that $4,000 to $6,000 range. That's incredible when you consider what you're actually getting. These are obviously not handmade, they're machine made, but again, you're getting a tourbillon and a chronograph jam-packed into a case that is usually made out of titanium and ceramic and a bunch of other materials. They use a bunch of materials to make these cases. Like I said, they look technical, they look complicated, and I think that's kind of the reason why a lot of people didn't like them. I think they are cool, and they are a bargain on the secondary market. If you want a tourbillon, you want a Swiss-made tourbillon from a major watchmaker, this is Tag Heuer. That's the only one that you can get. Speaking of Swiss watchmakers, one of the most famous Swiss watchmakers of all time, Blancpain, when they were purchased by Jean-Claude Bibier, again, when he revived the brand, he came out with a few different 50 Fathom. These were not very popular. They were called the Trilogy. They came out with 3 different versions. There was the Air Command, a GMT, and then of course the traditional 50 Fathoms. They were the first 50 Fathoms to put the word Blancpain on the side of the watch. I'm not sure why they did that. To this day, I still don't love it. They put a closed case back on these. They are powered by Frederic Piaget movements. So these are actually really nice movements inside here, in-house to Blancpain. It's their manufacturer. Of course, you are getting a 50 fathoms dial. So this looks like a 50 fathoms. The only difference here is that they put weird bezels on here. These bezels look like a Yachtmaster bezel for one reason or another. Maybe that's what they were going for. I'm not sure, but that made it not a popular watch. And these sell for around $2,000 to $5,000 on places like eBay and Chrono24. Again, depending on the condition that you get them in. Obviously, you cannot get these new because they're really not in the gray market. There's not many of these left in new condition on the market. But if you don't mind a used watch, these come in at 40 millimeters, something that for one reason or another, Blancpain cannot do today. You also get that GMT option. And then, of course, the Air Command, which, if you're familiar with the Air Command, that's a very expensive watch. Those also sell for that $2,000 to $4,000 range. Pretty incredible, just because they have steel bezels. I've seen people replace the bezels on these with more traditional black bezels, ceramic bezels, or sapphire bezels, and they look the part. They look like a 50 fathoms, like a modern 50 fathoms in 40 millimeters. I've always thought about doing that. For the price, I think it would be a killer watch. But then again, of course, you are modifying a $2,000 watch, so I'm not sure you really should do that. So it's kind of a conflict in my head. Should you do something like that? I don't know. But very cool watches for very good prices. Also, they are Blancpain. They are historic. Just awesome for $2,000. Another wildly unpopular brand on the secondary market, and I think basically at MSRP, and if you go into a dealer, they're not incredibly popular watches. I'm talking about Piaget. They've had a resurgence over the past few years because people are really getting into cocktail watches. However, they still don't sell for an incredible amount of money, especially their modern watches. And a watch that they came out with not that long ago, a watch that I almost bought a few times because it's priced so well, it is their flyback chronograph, the Polo flyback chronograph in titanium. They're large, they're 45 millimeters. Even the automatic version, the one without the chronograph, is 45 millimeters. I don't know why they do that, but it's a combination of ceramic and titanium. They sell for around $5,000, and they originally MSRP'd for around $20,000 to $25,000, depending on the version that you're getting. But you are getting an in-house Piaget movement that's a flyback chronograph in an integrated bracelet watch. Yes, it's large, but you are getting a lot of watch for your money. This is a very high-end watch that sells for around $5,000. Unfortunately, they are large, so if you don't have a very large wrist, these will not work for you. But these are cool looking watches, and if they were smaller, I'm sure they would be selling for a lot more money than they are. Maybe they wouldn't because of the Piaget name, I have no idea. But at this price, I think they're definitely a buy for someone who's looking for a large, complicated, high-end chronograph. Last but not least, the most affordable watch on this list, it is all of the Swatch collaborations. So the Moon Swatch collaboration and the 50 Fathoms, they are all now selling on eBay, except for the special one-offs that they're doing. Those still sell for over list price, but all the other Swatch, Moon Swatches, and the 50 Fathom watches are selling for under list prices on places like eBay and Chrono24. So finally, if you want one, and I've been saying this for a very long time, they are not making these in limited quantity, so eventually the market would get saturated with these watches. And there you go. They are saturated, so these watches are finally selling for lower than list price, and now you're able to get them from the Swatch website as well. So there you go. Prices have fallen on these watches, and they're making it on a list like this. These are not luxury watches, so I would not say these are luxury watches. I'm putting it on a list like this because they have the names attached to them, Blancpain and of course Omega, but technically I would not call these luxury watches. I don't think anybody would, but the prices have come down and now they are very affordable and easy to get. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think down in the comments below about this list of watches. I've put together a few lists like this. I like to bring new watches to the list. That Bulgari that comes in at around $800 for an integrated bracelet watch in stainless steel with an automatic movement. And I will be getting one of those because I want a watch like that in my collection. It's just so cool, and it is such a bargain, and I love bargains, and that is definitely one of the best bargains on this list. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Guys, have a very happy new year. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I really do appreciate you guys, and hopefully you have a happy, prosperous 2025. I'll catch you guys in the next video and next year.